Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. How's your Friday going so far, Korea?
It's going good. No April Fool's joke, actually great sunny day. Happy April, guys. It's April 1st. We're literally 6 days away from opening day for baseball, just a couple weeks away from the beginning of the NBA playoffs. It's getting exciting now. And also Final Four starts today with the women, tomorrow with the men. So exciting time right now. How you doing, Ari?
Yeah, man. NFL draft too later this month, so a lot going on in April. We already saw LeBron try to get everyone saying that he was done. He'll see us in the fall this morning. We had Julian Edelman say he was going to Tampa Bay this morning, so a lot of jokes. So just a reminder to be careful out there today because today more than usual.
Been off Twitter all day today for the sole reason that I've seen a lot of misinformation spreading around. So just be aware. But it is Friday. It's a nice Friday. We just had the NIT semifinals last night. We're getting into that, but pretty much one of the bigger stories coming from yesterday was Bobby Wagner.
It's not April Fools. Yeah, not April Fools. Bobby Wagner signs with the Rams. It was 5-year, I think $50 million, I believe, worth up to $65 million. Richard Sherman was doing all the reporting. He said that he was close to signing with the Ravens, but he ended up going back home where he's from with the Rams. Not a shocker to see him. I'm sure wanting to get revenge on Seattle with the way he left had at least some part to do with him staying in the division. Korea, what was your take? Were you surprised, or were you kind of expecting him to stay in division?
Look, I mean, I knew he was already thinking about staying in the division, right? It was something that he kind of had something tucked behind him because of obviously the way this incompetent organization known as the Seattle Seahawks did him so dirty. Not even sending him a thank you when he got released, not even, telling them that he got released, finding out on Twitter. That's always the worst way you want to find out. And I don't blame him for wanting to kind of get his revenge against this organization with the next 5 years against this team, especially with the team that just won the damn Super Bowl. Okay, so you have the Super Bowl winning team who already has a stacked defense, right? We know about this defense. They just lost Von Miller, obviously, to the Bills in this crazy offseason with that, I believe, what was it, 6-year, $120 million deal with Buffalo. But they still have Jalen Ramsey on that team. They still have Aaron Donald. Those are the two guys on defensive. And then now they have Bobby Wagner. So they literally have stars at every point in the defense where you want. They have stars in the secondary, they have stars in the middle, and they have stars up front. This team cannot get any better. If they don't repeat, then I think it's going to be a scam, because I don't believe that the Rams are not going to win this division. Look, but I've personally seen for the past 9 to 10 years what that man has done to pretty much everyone in the league. He's known as one of the best linebackers all time in the league right now. Just in terms of what he has done for the NFL, in terms of his ability to just tackle, his ability to make just his presence alone on the defensive side of the ball is always going to be interesting to see. Obviously, there were rumors from the Ravens. I heard he may link up with Russ in Denver, but obviously choosing LA, I knew he wanted to kind of stay in the division to kind of, get his revenge and all that stuff. And that's, not the greatest thing for Seattle fans, but at the same time, I mean, it's not like we should shame the guy for going to the Rams. If anything, you should shame the organization for kicking him out, because that's essentially what happened. It's not like Bobby Wagner wanted to go. They kicked him out. And so it's kind of like, well, it's kind of like you have to look at it from that perspective. They kicked him out. Now he has nowhere to go, so he finds somewhere else. So, I mean, in terms of what he wanted, it's what he wanted. He got that $10 million per year. That's what he'd been wanting out of an organization for him to get paid, and that's what he got. He got his money. He goes back home, obviously, from the LA area before he went on to Utah State. So Bobby Wagner, it's hard. Obviously, it's hard to watch, but obviously I'm going to wish him nothing but the best. He's gave our organization so many memories and so many good times that, you can't hate the guy. I mean, you only can root for him. So I know he's going to do great things, even though it's a division rival in Los Angeles. But I mean, yeah, it's a division rival, but at the same time, the way this organization screwed him over, I don't blame him. I'd do the same thing if I was him. So in terms of in terms of reactions, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, like I'm not great. I'm not happy that he signed with the Rams, but at the same time, I'm happy for him that he still, gets to play football and, gets to do his thing. But yeah, this division, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just looking like the Rams division once again to control. I mean, obviously they bring in Allen Robinson on the offense side of the ball. Their offense is still pretty much the same behind Matthew Stafford. They're going to have a fully healthy Cam Akers coming back next season. And then on the offense side of the ball, they still have Cooper Kupp. He was obviously a top 5 receiver. They just bring in Allen Robinson, and then that defense has moved from like a top 5 to like top 3 guaranteed in the league. Just you see the presence of Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey, and Aaron Donald on the same team. Yeah, come on now. But it's hard, obviously, to watch, someone from your team who's been dedicated to your team for so long play for another team, be another jersey. But at the same time, I knew he wanted to stay in this division, which is tough. But, I mean, what are you going to do at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it's not just like the Seahawks releasing him because it makes sense based on what his cap hit was going to be to release him after trading Russell Wilson. Like, clearly they're going in a new direction, the Seahawks. But it's not just releasing him, but like you said, how they handled it. I know some people say, oh, it's a business, and these players, obviously they're making more money than 99% of people are going to make their whole lifetime. And so you can look at it that way, but at the same time, they're still, human. They're still people. And so, yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm sure, the money had more to do with him going to the Rams and wanting to go back home to where he's from. But I'm sure at least a little part of him is going to the Rams because it's in division and he wants, to face the Seahawks twice with how he left the organization. But yeah, it should be interesting to see. So now we'll go into some news from this morning in MLB. Craig Kimbrell going to the Dodgers. AJ Pollock going to the White Sox. We saw the Dodgers lose Kenley Jansen to Atlanta this offseason, so you assume Kimbrell will take over his role. The White Sox, before the lockout, signed Kendall Graveman, and they still have Liam Hendricks. So they go from Kimbrell and Hendricks to Graveman and Hendricks now as their setup and closer. And then with the Dodgers, I've heard it should give Gavin Lux, one of their young prospects, more playing time. With AJ Pollock going to the White Sox, Pollock played left field for the Dodgers. It looks like he'll probably play right field. It looks like for the White Sox with Eloy Jimenez in left and Luis Robert in center. It seems like a pretty even trade overall based on each team's needs, just given that the White Sox already had multiple other relievers so they could rely on late. And the Dodgers needed that, closer to replace Jansen, who they lost to Atlanta, like I said before. Korea, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, you pretty much just said it yourself. I mean, it was pretty much a trade that came out of nowhere. I honestly thought it was an April Fool's joke at first, but I mean, it was a trade that came out of nowhere. But at the same time, it's a trade that makes sense for both teams. I mean, you mentioned the Dodgers who just lost Kenley Jansen in the offseason to free agency. He went to the Braves. So obviously they needed that position to be filled again, that relief pitcher role, the closer. And obviously we knew the White Sox, they have a big bullpen with so many big names. Like they had Graveman, still obviously former Mariner, former Astro, and then they have Liam Hendricks, who's pretty much known as one of the best closers in the league. So it kind of doesn't really give room for a guy like Craig Kimbrell, who has always kind of been that guy as the closer for the past decades with Braves and all other teams. Now he's get that chance to be that guy again. So, and that's what the Dodgers needed. They really needed that closer, that guy who's going to finish, the ninth inning for them. And that's what they got out of this trade. And obviously the White Sox getting AJ Pollock, I think that's a good return for them. Obviously, AJ Pollock going to be pretty much immediately introduced into outfield with Eloy Jimenez, you mentioned, and then Luis Robert, or is it Robert? I don't know. But yeah, obviously that talented White Sox outfield gets a little more talented with Pollock now. And then, this is a pretty balanced trade, honestly. I kind of didn't see this coming this morning, but looking through it over and over again, it makes sense for both teams. I mean, when you're the Dodgers, all you needed was a good closing pitcher, and then for the White Sox, you already have a pretty much balanced bullpen. and all you need is just one more offensive power, and there you go. You get AJ Pollock. So in terms of even trade, I think this is a perfect 50-50 trade in just terms of like, what both teams need. And obviously both teams are in contention. So it's not like one team is getting screwed over here. Both teams are definitely probably going to be division favorites for their respective divisions. So, I mean, it was a trade that came out of nowhere, but at the same time, like, it did the job for both teams. Dodgers get their relief pitcher, get their closer. White Sox get a better outfielder, who has more experience, more veteran, and kind of lead this, can kind of lead this young squad of up and coming prospects for the White Sox.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think it's pretty even. It did come out of nowhere. In that there's no like rumors of, at least I had heard of it happening, but it makes sense. Pollock was one of the better hitters in the league overall when he's with Arizona, and then he goes to the Dodgers where he had some injury issues. So hopefully he can stay healthy for the White Sox. And then the White Sox had the crowded bullpen for late innings. And so I guess you assume that they signed Graveman before the lockout with the intention that they're going to eventually trade Kimbrel, you would assume. So it all makes sense. So now we'll move on to I accidentally wrote NBA for that. We'll move on to the Jacob DeGrom injury that came out. I think it was yesterday, were the reports of him having some shoulder tightness, I believe, or soreness. He is supposed to start today for his last spring training start, but he got scratched, and now he's undergoing an MRI today, and now reports are suggesting that his opening day status might be in doubt. Obviously, they signed Max Scherzer this offseason, so they're not going to be missing DeGrom too much in that regard. But, I mean, DeGrom has had injury issues throughout his career. Last year, he missed I think this like the whole second half of the season, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if it was shoulder last year or something else. But, obviously, there are a lot of worries with the shortened spring training that more injuries were going to pop up. And now we're already starting to see this come up. Korea, what's your thoughts on this?
It's kind of just the Mets' luck. The Mets, obviously they get all these big names, obviously big time. They have pretty much debated, or I would say the best 1-2 combo in the MLB with DeGrom and Scherzer. But now obviously here it comes again with DeGrom's injuries. This has been pretty much the one thing kind of plaguing his career in terms of, kind of being that guy. The amount of times that DeGrom is either injured or sidelined, and here we go again before the season even starts. And now DeGrom is now in question of missing his opening day start. And, it just kind of seems like this is just top tier Mets baseball. Like something always goes wrong right at the right time, unfortunately. And then this is the right time, right before the season starts, and your starting pitcher, your ace, is already going down with an injury again. So in terms of DeGrom, obviously he's still a top 2 pitcher in this baseball league. We've seen what he can do in terms of just throwing the ball. His location is impeccable. We saw what he did throughout the first half of the league last year. A lot of people were saying he was like an MVP candidate just because of what he was doing to not just hitters, but also pitchers. When he was hitting at the plate, he was raking a little bit. So that was fun to see before. Obviously, now we have the universal DH. But obviously, DeGrom, this is just another setback for him. I've heard it could be obviously something that could make him miss his opening day start. But at the same time, this is just how the Mets unfortunately are. They just had some bad luck. It's always bad luck with the Mets. Hopefully, it's not too much time because that rotation is one of the top rotations in baseball when fully healthy. And that's always the thing with the Mets, when fully healthy. And right now, they're not fully healthy. So, yes, they have Scherzer, who is still a top 5 pitcher in this baseball league, of course. But still, having that 1-2 punch with DeGrom and Scherzer would be obviously a lot better for the Mets. But, it just sucks to see another injury for DeGrom. Everyone was so hyped for him to be back this season, especially with Scherzer, that 1-2 combo I've already mentioned so many times. So just nothing new for the Mets, but at the same time, they're still obviously okay. They're not in huge trouble because they don't have like it's not like they don't have a 2, 3, 4, 5 backup rotation to help or to hinder their team. They got Max Scherzer, who is an ace on pretty much every other team in the National Baseball League. So, or in the National League or in the American League as well. So, yeah, it impacts the Mets, but it impacts them to a point where they're still fine. They're not going to be scrambling for a pitcher to sign. I think they're just going to, bring someone from the bullpen, do some relief in case DeGrom is out for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, because right now the rotation is DeGrom, Scherzer. They brought in Chris Bassett this offseason, Taijuan Walker, and Carlos Carrasco. So that's like their top 5 right now. They had Tyler McGill, who's one of their younger, who went to U of A, University of Arizona. He made some starts late last year, and so I assume someone like him would come in if DeGrom misses time. But yeah, I mean, we should get more confirmation later today on Friday about his status, and hopefully he doesn't miss too much time. It sounds like he'll miss at least one start. But yeah, like I said, hopefully he doesn't miss too much time. But yeah, the Mets will be fine in the long run, assuming it isn't some kind of long-term injury for DeGrom. So now we'll move on to the NIT Championship from last night. Xavier beat Texas A&M by 1 point, 73-72. Texas A&M had an 8-point lead at half, and Xavier came back late. Jack Nunge hit the go-ahead jumper with 5 seconds left that secured the win. They had a lot of question marks, Xavier, without their head coach. I mentioned last episode one of their better players, and A&M seemed to kind of be crushing every team in their way to the championship. And so I think this is a bit of a surprise to some. But obviously both teams made a championship, so it can't be that big of a surprise. I didn't get to watch the game because I was at a spring training game during this. But Corey, did you get a chance to watch any of this?
Yeah, I did. I got a chance to watch this contest. I thought this game was pretty fun. Xavier, they opened up on a pretty much a big run, honestly, and I pretty much was kind of the tail of the game. It was obviously just back and forth. You mentioned A&M was up by 8.5. It looked like Xavier was kind of that one team that's actually giving Texas A&M a good, some good pressure. Was actually battling with them in this NIT tournament because it pretty much seemed like you mentioned that A&M was just beating their opponents so badly that. That they didn't really, have to bring anyone else in or, just, put the backups in by like the, ended up about like 10 minutes left in the second half or whatever. But now A&M had to play an actual game and it looked like they were a little bit out of the rhythm throughout that second half. It just looked like, they couldn't get their offense really moving correctly. Just a lot of, missed opportunities on the front end. So in terms of A&M, they had a close loss, disappointing loss for them. Obviously, they had a lot of championship aspirations. They obviously had tournament aspirations before they got picked for the NIT, but now NIT, and then they were looking, to go all the way, had a big run, but then shout out to Xavier, great game, honestly. It's very back and forth. Xavier with that inbound pass to Nunes right like 5 minutes with 5 seconds left. That's just March. That's the magic of March, and so that was a really fun game to watch there. I was surprised to see Xavier, be able to keep up with this fast-moving A&M team. A&M, they like to, move the ball fast. They like to lead the fast break, quick transition ball movement. And I was surprised Xavier was able to keep up with them. I thought Xavier was going to be too slow for them. I thought Xavier was, not going to really try to compete with them, but just not be able to. But they did their own thing. So shout out to Xavier on that part, and they got the win. Obviously, you mentioned Xavier with new coach Sean Miller, former U of A head coach. That's going to be interesting to see what he implements next season. This could be a lot of momentum for Xavier. Obviously, just missing the tournament this year, but now you have a renowned head coach in college basketball. You have an NIT championship under your belt, and they're looking to make the tournament next year, the NCAA tournament next year. So, but yeah, shout out Texas A&M too. Obviously, they have Buzz Williams, really renowned head coach in basketball. So it was a good game between two pretty decent programs for college basketball. I definitely think both will be back next year, unless A&M loses a lot of those young core transfers. I don't think they're moving. I don't think A&M's going to be, losing a lot of people. So it was a fun game to watch. Definitely. I thought A&M was definitely going to be the one controlling this, this offense, but it just looked like, Xavier matched their number, and it was a good game to watch, and it was pretty fun to see, a team that you didn't really expect to win, actually pull out a big close 1-point win against a good SEC school in Texas A&M. So yeah, it was a fun game. I'd say both teams have a lot to look forward to as we move on to as they both move on to the 2022-2023 season. And yeah, it was a pretty fun NIT championship game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, as someone neutral who's not really rooting for one team, you can't ask for anything more than the game to come down to the last second. So hopefully the Final Four and championship and NCAA tournament can live up to that similar hype of these games coming down to the end and having some fun, close games. So now I think we'll finish off with the playoff update in the NBA. We had the fun Bucks Nets game the other night with the Bucks taking a 1-point win in overtime at Brooklyn. Giannis 44 points, dominant as usual. I think it was the Bucks and the Celtics have clinched the playoff spot in the East, and then the Mavericks since then in the West. Curry, you want to kind of break down some of these, I guess, playoff scenarios and whatnot?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that was a great game between the Bucks and Nets last night. Giannis, doing his thing. Giannis is still making the claim that Milwaukee's still here. We were talking about Cleveland and the Bostons and the Miami and the Chicagos of the East. Milwaukee's still here. Milwaukee has been doing this thing. They're defending champions. People have just seemed to forget that Milwaukee just won the title last year and they're already moving on to a new champion. But Milwaukee's still trying to defend that. So obviously they're playing great right now. They're right now the 2 seed in the East, and they have clinched a playoff spot. So congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going back to the NBA playoffs. And then Boston, they've been on a tear ever since Christmas. I mean, look, they've only lost 6 games since Christmas. They've clinched a playoff spot. They've just found their movement. They found their gel. They found what works for them, and they've been winning games.
The loss of Robert Williams will be huge for them. He tore his meniscus a couple of days ago, and there's some hope that he could be back for the second round, maybe the Eastern Conference Finals if Boston makes it. But that will be a big loss for them.
Oh yeah, I was literally about to say the loss of Robert Williams is going to be very impactful on this Boston team. Obviously, a lot of that interior defense that Robert Williams provided is going to be gone. So it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics adjust now that they've lost a lot of that interior defense with Robert Williams, big man. But but still, we got to give credit to the Celtics. They've got to this point. I mean, they're in the playoffs, so it's not like they have to question. They just got to figure out, how to adjust now that they've lost Robert Williams for pretty much the remainder of their season, depending on how far they get in the NBA playoffs, if they make it out the first couple rounds. So those 3 have officially clinched in the East. In the West, it's the same top 3 teams, but it's Phoenix, obviously we've known, and Memphis, but now now the Dallas Mavericks. They picked up a win Wednesday, and so now they have clinched. And the Warriors, they had a close loss to the Suns on Wednesday night at home. Dumb decision by Jordan Poole. I'm sorry, I gotta call him out, but what was he doing? He shot that 3 with 5 seconds left remaining. I was questioning his decision makings in life.
I mean, the shot itself was obviously poor, but they were going to. He explained, which in a way makes sense that they were about to foul him, and so he didn't want, and they're down 3, but you still figure that you'd rather make one. You have a better chance of making the first and missing the second and getting the rebound than hitting a half court shot. So it's
yeah,
exactly. It was still a dumb shot, but obviously, at his age, he kind of wants. I don't know. I feel like he just wanted. Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense in a way, but in another way, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard the explanation. Obviously, It looked like Booker was going to foul him, but obviously they're up 3. Why would they foul? So it's kind of you got to have that in the back of your brain.
They fouled so that they can't hit a 3 and tie. They can only have 2 free throws to get within 1.
I thought they didn't foul him. I looked like they didn't foul him.
What, on the half court shot you're saying, or?
Yeah, I thought they didn't foul him.
No, they didn't foul him because he took the half court shot. But there's 2 guys that were going up to him and they were about to foul right before he took
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looked like Devin Booker. They were looking like they were going to try and foul him, but obviously they didn't foul him. And Poole took that half court.
Right as they saw him pull up from half court, they took a step back, obviously, to not foul him on the 3. But
Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake by Jordan Poole, honestly. Like I think he pulled up a little too early. If he would have gotten, maybe just a little more feet and he had a lot more time on that clock, then maybe would have pulled up. But obviously, it was just kind of being like a trap for Phoenix. So that's a good defensive play from Phoenix. But Golden State, they're still right there. They pretty much just have to win and they're in. Right now, they play Utah tomorrow at home, so that's gonna be a challenge for them. But yes, the Mavericks stay to clinch a playoff spot with their win. Against the Wizards, whoever they played on Wednesday. So now the Mavericks, along with the Grizzlies and the Suns, have officially clinched a playoff spot. And I just noticed this morning, but down in the play-in, the Clippers have officially clinched a play-in spot. So they're not going out of the playoffs. They're going to the play-in, but only the play-in. So we got to figure out where they are between 7 and 10. But it comes at the right time because now Paul George is going to come back and be fully healthy. So that'll be interesting to see how the Clippers now that they have one of their stars back. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Especially now with those bum ass Lakers. I'm sorry. I got to call them out with them. They're so bummy. Oh my God. I don't think this team is really going to make it. I mean, look, another loss. How many L's is this team really going to take in a row? Like, let's be honest here. Like,
yeah, but I mean, now they should get LeBron back tonight, assuming his ankle tests well in the pregame, and then Anthony Davis is a game time decision. So obviously getting those two back would be a huge, because obviously they've been playing without those two the last few games. So they're going to lose without those two playing. So there's 5 games left or 6 games left, tie with the Spurs. So yeah, it'll come down to the last game or two.
Yeah, and in terms of their schedule, I guess it's not going to get any easier. I mean, they play the Pelicans. We've already mentioned their schedule: Pelicans, Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, Thunder, and then the Nuggets again. So they got to play at least 4 teams that are playoff 10 for the contenders. They play New Orleans tonight at home, which is a big game for them, trying to climb back into that play-in hunt. Right now, New Orleans is a 1.5 point favorite. That game is tonight. But the Lakers, honestly, I feel like this team is just trying to lose. I feel like this team is just trying to escape, playoff hopes right now. It just seems like this team just, cannot find their way or gel together. So it'll be interesting to see how they mesh well if Anthony Davis does come back. Obviously, that's a big question mark too. And then just the whole Lakers as a whole, it just seems like this team just does not even want to make the playoffs. I've already mentioned this so many times, but I feel like this team is just already looking toward next season. And I mean, you see the jokes about LeBron talking about see you next fall, and but there's something with that. Like, there's this mentality that they're already looking toward next season. Like, it doesn't seem like this team really actually, wants to, continue playing basketball throughout April and just be a first round exit. I think they're already looking toward next season. But, the Lakers, they're a question mark. But something I literally just noticed like 2 seconds ago, but the entire East, oh boy, pretty much we've had our playoff teams clinched. Well, pretty much mathematically, the Knicks, Wizards, Pacers, Pistons, and Magic have all been eliminated from playoff contention to this point, which means that the play-in has not been clinched officially, but we know that Atlanta, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Toronto, Chicago, and Philly have essentially all clinched a playoff spot. But it just depends on where they are seated, obviously. But the Knicks, oh boy. The Knicks.
And did you hear that Julius Randle is going to try to force his way out this offseason? The rumors, it sounds like that might happen.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to have to happen. I mean, look, they paid him. They paid Julius Randle. He had one great season, and I thought it was kind of a fluke, and it proved out to be a fluke season. So I feel sorry for the Knicks once again, just coming a little bit short. But now, obviously, they have a lot of questions after being eliminated from the playoffs. What do they do? Do they re-sign? Do they give RJ an extension? No, not like a max contract. Obviously, he's been playing well, but is he playing that well? They got to get rid of someone. And with that $106 million for Julius Randle, I think he's the big target that's got to go. So, but yeah, we're gonna get closer and closer to NBA playoffs. We'll keep you updated with who has made what position and who's been eliminated. So far, the only teams from the West that have only been eliminated are still the only two, and that's Orlando. No, it's not Orlando. That's OKC and Houston. Portland is still on the cusp, trying to fight for that play-in, along with San Antonio and the Lakers, along with Sacramento, New Orleans, and Minnesota. And then the rest rounds out at number 1, Phoenix, number 2, Memphis, 3, Dallas, 4, Golden State, 5, Utah, and 6, Denver. So yeah, playoffs start soon. I'm excited, but I'm not excited. I wouldn't be excited if I'm a Lakers fan. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on right now in the NBA playoffs. Just getting closer to the beginning of the play-in rounds, which I believe start the 16th or the 15th, one of those 2 days. So we're right there. We are right there.
Yep, and of course we'll have our playoff predictions once the regular season ends, leading into the play-in. Or I guess we'll probably do play-in predictions first, and then we'll do playoff once we know who are the play-in teams that make it into the 7 and 8 seeds are.
That's fine, yeah.
But yeah, so tune in next week on Monday. We'll be going over our American League division team by team kind of predictions, breakdowns of each team. So that'll be Monday, and then Wednesday's episode will be the National League for the same thing, and then Thursday's opening day. So we're, like you said, 6 days away, right around the corner from opening day. So we'll look forward to that. So thank you guys all for tuning in to today's episode, and we will catch you all next week.